Hi all, welcome to the Marquee Matchups for the 21st of July. Plenty of routes to cover this week, especially with a few more leagues returning, and also pre-season gets very serious with the Champions Cup as well, so plenty to cover in this. So if we can smash links, be awesome. Sub to the channel if you're new, follow me on Twitter at GTheLegend. All the links are down below for playlists on the channel and social media links as always. So let's jump into the Marquee Matchups and explain what routes to expect this week. So Ulsan Hyundai versus Incheon United is the first shout of the week. This is a Korean derby and it's quite a big one in terms of the whole Korean K-League landscape. I think you would need 2 players from both teams all told, 11 from the K-League, 4 rares, 3 nations, 70 overall rating if they were to go with a ratings requirement. 100 chem as we always cover our back as usual, they always like to go about 90 chem anyway. 46k, 34k reward and a 6 out of 10 for likelihood. Do I fancy it? Not 100% because we just had Ulsan a couple of weeks ago, but it's still worthwhile keeping in mind due to both teams being a derby, and I think the Super Derby is one of the Super Derbies is next week, so be prepared if this option crops up. CSK Moscow versus Lokomotiv Moscow Derby. For me, one of the biggest shouts. We had the Super Cup just passed and it didn't feature in the Marquee Matchups, but because this is the league second week of the league and I would fancy a Moscow Derby to feature, this is a massive game and I would say both teams have a very strong shout in it. As a result, I would fancy it heavily. So you need 2 from both teams all told, 11 from the league, 4 rares, 3 nations, 77 overall rating. I don't think they would go much higher because then it goes into a bit more difficult territory, and the 3 silvers would have to then become golds. 7 to 10k for cost. It's not too cheap because of the players as a whole. 46k and 8 out of 10 for likelihood. I really do fancy this week. Premium gold push pack is a reward. Young Boys versus Basel is another shout this week. This is the start of the Swiss League and it's a big game in Switzerland this game. You need 2 from both teams, 11 from the league, 3 rares, 3 nations, 70 overall rating. The handy thing is you can go an influx of golds and then just mix a few silvers and bronzes in. 100 chem, 5 to 7k for cost, 4 to 6k reward and 6 out of 10 for likelihood. For me personally, this has a shout because Basel are the champions and Young Boys are usually pretty close to them in the league. It's sometimes Young Boys, sometimes FCC on, and it's kind of a big deal in terms of Swiss football with this particular game, so be prepared on this particular option. Then Rapid Vienna versus Mattersburg. I've only picked this game due to the nature of the games that are playing next week in Austria, and I would have went for Salzburg naturally, but the team that they're playing aren't in FIFA. So Rapid Vienna, Mattersburg. I don't really fancy it because I don't think the Austrian league gets as much precedent compared to other leagues, but I've still got to feature it because it's a new league starting back up. 2 from both teams, 11 from the Austrian Bundesliga, 3 rares, 3 nations, 67 overall rating, 100 chem, 35k cost, 46k reward. Could be like a silver push pack or even like a premium gold pack or something of a decent value in nature, and 5 out of 10 for likelihood. Could easily go up higher in terms of overall, so be prepared on that one. In the Gold Cup quarterfinals, we don't know particularly yet who's facing who. We know Costa Rica and Canada are through, but in terms of other teams we genuinely do not know. What I've done is I've built an MLS team with all the nations that look like they're going to go through, such like America, Canada, then we've got Jamaica, Costa Rica, Mexico, and then we've gone with hopefully Honduras features as well, but we're not 100% certain. But I've built, I would imagine it would be 2 from either team. I think 2 routes will feature from the Gold Cup quarterfinals depending who features. 2 leagues maybe minimum, 3 rares, 3 nations, 70 overall rating, 5 to 7k cost, 46k reward and a 7 out of 10 for a likelihood. I do quite fancy it. And Manchester City versus Manchester United is part of the Champions Cup. They are in America. This is the pre-season tournament that gets been done for the last couple of years. I quite fancy this if they were to go with pre-season games, and if they do, this is a likely shout, especially as it's a Manchester derby in another country. So you 2 from both teams all told, 11 from the Premier League, 5 rares, 3 nations, 80 overall rating, 100 chem, 10 to 12k cost. You're paying about 1,000 coins just now for like each EPL player, so be prepared for quite an expensive route if this was to happen. 5 to 7k reward and 7 out of 10 for likelihood. 25k pack like a premium gold plus pack or something really worthwhile, because this is a very expensive route in mind, so be prepared. And then the last route that we're going to feature from the Champions Cup is Juventus versus Barcelona. You'd need 2 all told from the teams, 2 leagues, 5 rares, 3 nations, 79 overall rating. You could push it to 80, then it means I'd have to swap the right centre back, but quite easily done. I've kept the Brazilian centre back just for Kem as well, and also because he plays for Barca. 8 to 12k cost, 5 to 7k rewards, premium gold plus pack. 6 out of 10 for likelihood, because I'm not 100% sure if they would only go 1 game or 2 games from the Champions Cup, or they might look at other options within the particular Champions Cup as a whole. So as I said, with the pre-season games that are featured in Champions Cup, the other games that you can consider as well is Arsenal versus Chelsea, Arsenal versus Bayern, Spurs versus PSG, Bayern versus AC Milan, and Real Madrid versus Manchester United. Now that gives you a lot of ammunition to play with, and obviously the reason why I've not built all the routes is because it's hard to truly say where they could go if they were to go with the Champions Cup, as it's a pre-season tournament and you don't 100% know what ones they could take as preference. But that gives you a good idea in terms of how many games there is, but hopefully that gives you enough food for thought and at least prepare for a few routes to cover your back at least. So if you can smash the like, be awesome, sub to the channel if you're new, follow me on Twitter at GZLegend, and let me know in the comments down below what you fancy for the marquee matchups. I'll catch you all later.